Morning Extra.
Hello and welcome in, everybody. It's June 26th. Hard to believe that the 4th of July is just a week away, Catherine.
I know, we're wrapping up the month of June, so we are in the middle of summer here. I'm meteorologist Catherine Bodak, and of course we're talking about some warmer weather in the days ahead.
And hopefully some dry out right before we get into all those festivities with the 4th of July coming up. And we'll hear from Jeff a little bit later. But right now I want to get to some problems on the roadways because we still have a continued problem in Ohio on Interstate 75 right now. The time right now is 9:52. Here's two things you may not put together necessarily: yoga and barbecue. Cool. We're going to get now to some breaking news from overnight. The U.S. military says 2 service members have been killed in Afghanistan. And that's why you're a mixologist. So if somebody comes to see you, they're getting a story along with their cocktail.
Absolutely. Also breaking overnight, 1 person is killed in a crash on Spring Grove Avenue. Fox 19
Sarah Selly is live at the scene with details about what happened. We're tracking several breaking traffic stories this morning and major backups. This is one of those. A man seeking asylum in the United States is now behind bars accused of placing skimmers on gas pumps across the tri-state. Now a Metro bus driver is recovering after a bullet hit the front of the bus she was driving last night. Well, Ryan Shazier will spend a second season on the Steelers, physically unable to perform as a result of a spinal cord injury he suffered during a 2017 game at Paul Brown Stadium. Well, breaking right now, homicide detectives are investigating a shooting in Over the Rhine. Fox 19's Maytal Levy is live at the scene. Right now, a local family is looking for witnesses who may have seen a deadly shooting on I-75. Dozens of people showed up at a vigil in Covington to honor Rashawn Hose. Police say he was a passenger when someone shot into a vehicle near the Hopple Street exit. His family thinks the bullet was actually meant for someone else.
I don't know. He was a
At
good
the
person.
wrong place at the wrong time.
With the wrong people. Whoever did this, we don't have just no karma. It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back and get you.
Police are not sure if those shots were fired from another car, but they do say it does not appear to be a random shooting. If you happen to know anything about this, give police a call. Well, this morning, one of the grandmothers charged in the Pike County massacre is breaking her silence after a stunning twist in the case. All of the charges against Frederica Wagner have been dropped. She was accused of trying to cover up the murders by lying about bulletproof vests she bought online. Wagner claims she gave prosecutors a receipt that proves her innocence.
Bought them after the crime, after the tragedy, 2 weeks later. And we proved that. I've had to prove my innocence twice. It was dismissed because I was innocent. They had no evidence against me. I was innocent.
Wagner says she bought the vest because she feared her family would be attacked. The other son, Billy, his wife Angela, and their 2 sons are all accused of killing 8 members of the Roden family over a custody dispute. Happening today, you're going to start seeing some big changes around Newport on the Levee. Crews will break ground on a big $100 million renovation project. Here's what it'll look like when it's done. The plans call for several new restaurants and stores, an indoor lounge, and new green space. The Levee's owners said it'll take about 18 months to complete, but they'll start announcing some new tenants very soon. And a lot of us traveling this week, or maybe planning our next big trip, top of mind for a lot of travelers, safety, especially with some recent news of crime coming out of the Dominican Republic for one. And Jovita Copage is a travel consultant with some traveling safety precautions for all of us to keep in mind. Really, no matter if you're traveling abroad, internationally, or staying at home domestic, it's good to keep safety in mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've heard of the things going on, especially in the Caribbean. And so I have a couple of tips for just, like you said, traveling anywhere.
Yeah.
The first one, I travel a lot solo. And then one of the first tips I have is to never let anyone know you're traveling solo.
Okay.
Friends and family, that's one thing, but when you're in a resort and you're by yourself, and you just don't want that to happen.
Well, you were describing an incident that you had where somebody came in with room service and was trying to do some digging around, maybe?
Absolutely. Well, not really digging around, but they came in with room service and they looked around and they were like, oh, are you here by yourself? And my initial thought was, yeah, but I'm like, no, I'm here with a group of friends because I don't want, I don't want to be that target. I don't want to make myself that target. So I never let anyone know on the resort that I'm there by myself because you become an easy target that way.
Well, it sounds like you're very in tune with those red flags maybe that you sometimes get with
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I recommend when you're traveling abroad to register for a program called STEP. It's Smart Travel Enrollment Program, and you can do that on travel.gov. And it's just to let the government know where you're at all times, so that if something does happen to you, or if something happens where there's a warning or you need to get out, the government knows where to reach you more effectively.
What are some other tips you have for travelers?
Another one is to, Another one is to, when you're in your resort or hotel or anything like that, I didn't used to do this, but I do it now. I always close that door. Do you know that door when you close it and there's like a lock at the top of it? I always close that because I don't want anyone else coming in if I'm asleep.
Absolutely.
Someone could easily swipe their card and get into your room.
Yeah.
So I always use that lock to make sure that if I'm in, no one else is getting in, you know?
That's some really
And
good
another one
advice.
is to just be precautions about your drinks. If you're in an all-inclusive and you're at a cruise and you have those packages where you can drink for free, if you walk away, just get a new drink. I know I like to indulge in the beverages when I'm drinking or when I'm traveling, and I make sure that if I walk away for a split second, I need a new drink. That's a definite, like, I need a new drink. Just be cautious about that. Be cautious about how much you drink.
Absolutely, because it's so much fun to plan a trip. It's so much fun to be on that trip. But obviously, something like becoming the victim of a crime maybe is not top of mind because you have your guard down.
Exactly. And it's the same smarts you use when you're traveling to, let's say, New York or Chicago, or LA, anywhere like that. Just use those same precautions. And no one wants to think about that. That wasn't want to be the forefront to think about, oh, I need to be careful at all
Absolutely.
times. But I mean, you want to be able to do that. And another thing I always recommend is travel insurance.
Okay.
Travel insurance is different than trip insurance. Travel insurance, let's say that for some unforeseen circumstance, you're hiking and you twist your ankle or you break a leg. For sometimes things happen, you know? So that's where travel insurance comes into play. Trip insurance is more like, oh, I missed my flight, or oh, I can't make my flight. Travel insurance covers if something goes wrong, if, for instance, someone dies, and things like that. You're covered in those circumstances.
It's those unforeseen circumstances.
Absolutely.
And just as we head out here and take it to break here in a couple seconds, what are some of the top destinations you're seeing right now that people are interested, even though the Dominican, for one, has kind of seen their tourism decline?
But I might still go because the prices are good right now. The prices are good. Just use those precautions that I talked about. But also, Americans, we cover over maybe 60% of travel within the Caribbean. And the Americans, they love the Caribbean. So Mexico, I'm going back to Mexico in a couple weeks. I'm actually going to Cabo, and I'm excited about that. Jamaica is a big one. The Bahamas is always big. The Caribbeans, they're big. Jamaica's the top destination to travel.
Well, Jovita, have fun. I'm sure you will,
Thank
but
you.
be safe, right?
Yes,
Right now, a Springfield Township dad is behind bars after his 3-year-old daughter went missing for several hours, but his family says the whole thing was a misunderstanding. Well, this was the big ending to our breaking story from yesterday. Janila Turner was found locked inside an apartment not too far from her home. The woman who owns that apartment says she was moving in on Sunday night and asked her dad, Jeremy, for help fixing the thermostat. She thinks Jeremy finished his work and left, not knowing Janila was still with him.
I thought he had the baby because he was holding it at first. When he came over, he was holding it. Yeah. But he put her down when he got in. So I'm thinking like, he done picked her up, walked towards the house because he was already out the house when I locked up the house and everything.
Police arrested Jeremy not long after the rescue and charged him with endangering children and obstructing business. He'll be in court this morning. Right now, officials in Clermont County are investigating after a man's body was found in a ditch. The Clermont County Sheriff's Office says deputies were called out to the scene in Tate Township Sunday night. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. His identity has not at this point been released. The Hamilton County Coroner's Office is performing an autopsy to determine a cause of death. If you're planning to travel anywhere for the 4th of July, you won't be alone. AAA is projecting that 49 million people will be hitting the roads or the skies more than 50 miles away from home. That would be a new record. So why so many people traveling? AAA actually says lower gas prices for one. That's one big reason.
The unemployment is low. Americans have additional disposable income, so they're taking that additional money and putting it towards a trip with friends and family this year.
So here are some tips to try to help you prevent some typical travel headaches. AAA says if you're driving, try to leave early in the day or wait until the actual holiday, the 4th. If you're flying, be sure to check your flight status ahead of time and get to that airport early. Well, Well, the stars of Spider-Man Far From Home took the time to visit some very sick children last week. Tom Holland, Zendaya, and Jake Gyllenhaal all took selfies and signed autographs at the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. The actors were dressed in their superhero gear and got some very big smiles from those young patients who were treated to a special advanced screening of the film. It's a very special treat for them, for sure. Let's send it over to Frank. You gotta be very flexible, have some good core strength to do the limbo. Are you good at that?
No, I'm awful at the limbo.
Yeah. When it comes to succeeding in business, most of us would love to have an upper hand. Today, here to help us with that is Morgan Owens. And Morgan, you're talking specifically to all the ladies out there who want to maybe brand themselves and be their own business.
Yes, brand like a boss.
There you go.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. That is your message in terms of blooming your businesses.
Yeah.
Those road crews, the state, local,
Yeah.
you really have to prioritize it. Those spots that are maybe worse than others, they have to get to those first.
They're not
and then
avoiding
major
you on
highways.
purpose, but you know.
But it's funny, this is not the first time we've seen something like this with them
Yeah.
dressing up a pothole or trying to really get attention, and it does seem to really work.
Sometimes they.
Really been enjoying those pool days. It's been
It's been
nice to
nice.
get out there and take a dip and cool off.
No reason, to get dressed up. Just put some swim trunks on or a
Right.
swimsuit and go take a
Just
dip.
turn it inside out and head out the door.
You got it.
Well, today, the Pike County Sheriff is set to head to court on a 16-count indictment. Fox 19's Maytal Levy is here with details on the accusations against Sheriff Charles Reeder